I don't mind catering to an audience. Sky News, Channel 10, ABC, Fox News, CNN, it's the world we're in. You have advertisers, you have diverse audiences who know what they're looking for. What kills me is not necessarily even omission, because you don't have time to include everything. You've got a 2-minute package. You've got 60 seconds to get everything in there. It's hard. I have the luxury here, as I hope you'll join me for the next 30 to 45, I don't know how many minutes I'm going to rant at you, thank you for listening, of the flexibility of not having to fit into a 30-minute time slot, or in ABC's coverage of the Belfield riot tonight, an 8-minute, 37-minute package. What absolutely gets me clearing my schedule to sit down and talk to you all is lying. And this package lied. People slant things, they put their own take on it. Your audiences want to hear things they agree with. I'm used to that. A lot of you have stuck around while I've told you a lot of things which you haven't necessarily agreed with. But I've been there, it's what I saw. And I don't get paid for this, I lose lots of money, so I'm not really incentivized to kind of just feed you whatever you necessarily want to hear. Part of why I do this is so I can go to a Christian Lives Matter protest and be critical of them and say, why do you want this? That's something that I enjoy doing, because that's the kind of news I used to really enjoy. Watch with me and react with me as the ABC, a month later, they've had a month to work on this, 5-6 weeks to work on this, covers what happened and what Christian Lives Matter is tonight.
In Sydney's western suburbs, an angry crowd vents its fury. Its target, a small group of gay and trans protesters. It's just one of a
Counter-protesters.
series of protests targeting gay and trans people.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee.
Like this march through the heart of gay Sydney, coinciding with World Pride celebrations. Another nighttime action targeted the management office of comedian Reuben Kay, who'd made an offensive joke about Jesus.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses.
Many of the men are from Sydney's Maronite Christian community. Although a recent rally attracted Muslim protesters too.
That's an important one that people didn't pick up on. And there was a big division which I wasn't able to dive into in the guys in the community. A lot of them were telling me off the record, oh, those guys, they're part of the Muslim community, they're not part of us, and they're from other communities. I wasn't able to substantiate it, but a lot of people were saying, and I've never got into it, but yeah, ABC's calling it out.
A bruised LGBT community is worried. At this town hall meeting in Ashfield, they try to forge a response.
Look who it is. Look who it is. Look who it is. You're wondering what this is about? Look who it is. What a coincidence. What a coincidence. What a coincidence.
It's a wake-up call about the kind of organised
Coalition for Rainbow Rights.
that's going on.
It's really clear that this is from the margin.
It's really important that we stand together and show our strength.
Look, I think people are rightly concerned about what has happened. But this is clearly a form of escalation that has happened on a political level that requires a proper response.
An escalation. By whom? Something to raise. They came to your community, Newtown. You went to theirs. Fair. What does that mean? I get it. I get it. Is protesting their church an escalation? Well, this is conflict. Who's the sinner? Who stands down first?
What we've seen here in Australia is that these groups are taking a page from the political playbook of the religious right and the hard right in the US context. This has been going on in America for quite a while, where there's been, for example, story times for children, drag queen story times shut down.
These are local.
In Melbourne,
I'm sure they contacted Rukshan. I'm sure. I have no doubt. No doubt. Right, Rukshan?
last week, a council meeting about a planned drag queen event at the local library required a police presence.
Armed police with weapons, with their cameras rolling.
Who are meant to be supporting us.
The drag story time.
Can I make a comment about that council meeting protest? We had a Hong Kong protest here, right? At Ride Council. And, like, these kind of things happen. I don't know why that kind of thing was such a big deal, because I was looking at them like, I don't get it. I'm like, okay, you guys gonna go into a council and you're making some noise. We've had this here. This happens. People yelling, shouting, right to protest, that kind of thing. Why this? I don't understand why this protest of this council became such a big deal that everyone's like, oh my god, it's happening. But okay.
Homophobia, biphobia and transphobia by modelling inclusiveness.
At this particular event, there'll be a drag artist who will work with some of our senior librarians. They'll read books from our council collection to children and families who are present, and they'll collectively sing a few songs. That's all it is.
Mate, what happened? Mate, what happened in there? What happened? What happened?
They're just rubbish. They're useless. All of us!
We've been pretty clear that we're not going to succumb to intimidation and harassment to decide what we should and shouldn't be offering to our community.
These are groups that talk about freedom and free speech, but when it obviously stands in contrast to their beliefs, shut down events that they don't agree with. These are groups that talk about freedom and free speech, but when it obviously stands in contrast to their beliefs, shut down events that they don't agree with.
Before I begin, I'd first like to thank God for bringing us all here today.
Diana Aboud is a leading voice in the campaign to remove trans content from schools.
They are the ones.
Who?
Aboud is a leading voice.
I'd first like to thank God for bringing us all here today.
Diana Aboud is a leading voice in the campaign to remove trans content from schools.
I guess, yeah. Mama's has got a few followers on it, but hey, maybe I'm not totally plugged into that. But there you go, Diana. You're a leader. I didn't realise that she was as big as that, but okay. She's standing next to Yusra, who, in many ways, is a much larger leader. But Yusra, there you go.
They are the ones confused. Why do our children need to suffer the consequences? Kids are born freely into this world by the grace of God as a boy or a girl. There's no they, yet, them, him, her, it. Okay? They know who they are. They're not confused. Our children are not confused. They identify as a child of God.
The University of Melbourne's Ada Chung.
I think that's scary language for a lot of people now. And I think what Diana just said there, I think for 730 and others, the fact that kind of language, because I don't know if you guys are listening to the rest of the speeches on that stage, but there was a lot spicier stuff than that. But the fact that is being platformed says just how scary even that is, when in a short package they're platforming what Diana said.
Says that view doesn't reflect reality.
95% of people will be born a boy and identify as a boy, but there
Second university expert.
are a small percentage of people, up to 0.5 to 3%, who will
3%.
identify with a gender that's different for what was assigned for them at birth.
Diana Arbud campaigns online against inclusive content for Catholic school students.
These poor, innocent children have been brainwashed. They are children. They watched a slide of families, and in that families, it was considered that 2 mums and 2 dads is a family.
What we're seeing here is an attempt to polarise, an attempt to define an enemy within. It's easy to turn on those members of society who might have less of a voice, in particular, that they can assert their authority and power over.
So these guys are the guys moving the needle and they need to be pushed back again. This is something that both sides do all the time, which is they point at each other and say, you're the ones dividing us. And this always happens when it kind of split into groups. And it's true, society kind of is kind of splintering into these 2 groups and diverse audiences and what have you. But this is a great example where you have a university professor telling you that this is an attempt to divide you. Most viewers of this channel, and I think most channels not watching the ABC, would look at this and say many of the changes in childhood education were not present within the last 5 years. And they'd look at this and say this change needs to be critically analysed and may not be open to 100% of the audience, and is a question of asking why. The response to that in the context of Diana Arbud questioning whether this is appropriate for 100% of kids, is what she's trying to say. Expert says it's an attempt to divide. Who's dividing who is then the question that anyone kind of asks. And, well, if you don't work at a university, well, you know which side you're on.
Power over.
Bankstown carpenter Christian Sukkar is a key figure at rallies promoted by a Maronite Christian group called Christian Lives Matter.
Hey, sorry, Christian, we'll come back to you in a minute. It's Dana! Look, it's Dana! Oh, look, it's Dana! Pregnancy Help Australia, look at that. Was she counter-protesting this group? I don't know, but it's Dana, that's great.
Lives Matter.
That's Paxton.
Yeah. We will protect our children.
So, maybe I didn't think Christian was a key figure in this, but after this, there's now no doubt, yes, he is now going to be widely seen as a leader of this for a long time to come. And I don't think he necessarily chose that either, but we'll come to that.
I will protect our angels.
We have the gays coming and putting their gay flags on the church, and we have started to remove them. If you're at home and you're doing nothing, I urge you to come to the church. I want to remind Australia this is a Catholic country, not a gay country, a Catholic country.
Listen to the music. The music tells you how to feel more than the visual content or the audible content does. Listen to the music.
Doing nothing, I urge you to come to the church. I want to remind Australia this is a Catholic country, not a gay country, a Catholic country.
Sukkar has pleaded guilty to encouraging the commission of crimes over this tirade.
You go there tomorrow
Ramp it up.
and you shake them up and you drag them by their head and you remove them from St. Michael's Belfield. Time to rise.
Sukkar did not take part in any violence, but here he is at the heart of the Belfield crowd.
Okay, this is where we go from, you've all got your story to tell, and where it goes to a lie. Watch this again.
Sukkar did not take part in any violence, but here he is at the heart of the Belfield crowd.
That's it. That's it. The guy that stood over me, and yes, by his own admission, by the own videos that we saw, the guy who called to violently remove people from his church, but then stood over me, and was the guy who stopped me from eating through a feeding tube by the mob that wanted to bash me. Here he is at the heart of the violence, None of the coverage that I had. Not when Adam reached out to me, and he did because he wanted to speak to Christian, so I was happy to pass across details after he Twitter DM'd me. Not when he reached out to me did he try and look at the video that I actually then texted him a link to the interview with Christian, where I happily went through all of the details showing that this guy stood over me holding people back. Here he is at the heart of the violence. Well, what is he doing there, Adam? What is he doing there, guys? What are you doing? He's saving a guy on the ground, which could have been your cameraman, Rob, from getting bashed, from getting seriously injured. That's where this goes from slanted coverage. It happens, okay? Yes, the ABC is going to have a very ABC kind of angle for a very ABC audience. Failing to include that is a lie. And that's why I'm sitting here live tonight, because I'm flipping things over on my table that angry about it. I don't mind with what happens next here. You've got someone at the courtroom steps. You want to get, just kind of the words and clip things together. That happens. That's part of what you do, right? That's part of what everyone does. The reason why I upload uninterrupted clips is partially I kind of like it that you guys can make up your own mind. But partially I don't have the editing talent that it takes to put these kind of packages together. Let's keep going.
Repentant. What's the threat to the kids?
Who in their right mind wants a transvestite dressed like that reading a bedtime story to a little kid? Of course I'm threatened by that. I have children of my own.
It seems like there's just such fury out there.
But that's
amongst
fine.
the Christian community.
Why don't they do? There's no fury. Why don't you do it to your own children? Oh, because I can't have children. So why are you coming after my children? It's my children. I'll teach my children what I want to teach my children.
Enough. That's enough.
All right, that's enough.
At another rally,
That's been clipped up. I was actually with that. I was there for that interview. I uploaded a clip of it. It lasts about 4 minutes through this. It's fine. Those were the spiciest quotes. You're going to go for the "you can't have kids, stay away from my kids." You're going to go for those spicy quotes. Yep, that's just ABC business. Because an ABC crowd is going to see that and be like, "Wow, that's really scary for me." Another side of the crowd, like the Sky News crowd, would be like, "Yeah, we can't." So that's just how it goes. You clip for what necessarily titillates. That's the business. I just want to come another cycle back around to this.
Sukar did not take part in any violence, but here he is at the heart of the Belfield crowd.
And the ABC wonders why they're not trusted. It's not just the slanting in here which gets people a little bit off base by anyone who doesn't live within a 15-minute e-bike ride of the city. It's not just the people who earn less than $70,000 a year, or heck, might even be on less than that, who wonder, why doesn't the ABC seem to speak to me because I don't work in academia or marketing? That affects your kind of credibility. It's things like that has me telling the very small group of people who are listening to this, thank you for watching, that they're lying, because that's a lie. That is a lie, not just by omission, by more than that. But you fail. Not a true journalist. Everyone's going to try and run around and call everyone else. That happens all of the time. They didn't even reach out to me to try and get any comment. Like, here's the thing. What I expected when Adam at ABC reached out to me is that he would kind of ask a couple of questions and then clip something out, Homer Simpson style. That's just how it goes. You just want the spiciest quote to kind of throw up there. Oh yeah, Chris says that he just wants to bash people or whatever it is. I don't know. Just clip it together that he said BASH. Therefore he's terrible. Whatever. That's just how it goes. Look at the one interview I did for the TV, which was Channel 7, which didn't clip. Which tends not to rip off my content. So I'm like, oh yeah, okay, we'll do one with you. They used one quote of what I had to say in the entire interview. Oh, it was the most violent protest I've ever been to. It's just business. You're looking for the spiciest quote in the short time that you have. But the ABC has more time. They pride themselves on Walkley Award-winning journalism. And you're not asking the people who were there how it went down. You're going to Deakin and La Trobe universities to ask them what they think's happening. Reality cannot be interpreted except by the people with qualifications to do so. Anyone else is unqualified.
Ahead of his sentencing later this month, Sukkar remains unrepentant. Rally, Christian Sukkar complains that church leaders aren't supportive enough of their cause.
Where are our bishops? I'm not going to hang on. Where is Bishop Tarabay? Why is Father Emmanuel, an Orthodox priest, speaking on all our behalfs, and he's saying beautiful stuff?
This is the man that Christian Sukkar considers to speak beautiful stuff. Assyrian Orthodox Bishop Mar Mari Emmanuel.
So now, when a man calls himself a woman, he is neither a man nor a woman. You are not a human, then you are an it. Now, since you are an it, I will not address you as a human anymore, because it is not my choosing, it's your choosing, my dear.
The Catholic and
Hey, you copped out my waterbuck. What can you do?
Maronite churches declined to be interviewed for this report. In a statement, Australia's Maronite Church condemned the violence and said it was imperative to de-escalate what has the potential to intensify.
Fair point. If you want anything else from that, you want escalation.
Our aim collectively must be to maintain and in some instances restore a culture of respect for diversity and the goodness of humanity. It distanced...
How is the Maronite community going to find a way to be inclusive and tolerant of the gay and lesbian community of Sydney and Australia? It's a great question. I'd love to ask them. I'd love to know how the more strongly worded Christian communities and Islamic communities of Sydney are going to find a way, as we both sides seem to be drifting further and further apart, going to find a way to live with each other. I would love to go to them with some of the teaching materials that are currently entering and say, how are we going to find a way to live in this city together?
Itself from the Christian Lives Matter group, saying it wasn't part of Maronite parishes or organisations. Back at the town hall meeting, it was the local Uniting Church minister who offered support for the embattled gay and trans community.
Using Christianity as the flag to wave and disrespect and attack other people for their difference is just the complete antithesis of the story that I've come to know and believe in.
For those who don't know, that's the Antifa badge and flag insignia. What do you think, guys? What do you think? Tracy Lee, this is going to get worse before it gets better. Maybe. Maybe. You know, looking at what I was doing, what I've been doing for the past 3 years, I went into it with a bit of a hope to try and hold back some of the far right. You know, to show, because from the far right's point of view, they just look at the media landscape and go, this is rubbish. There's either for billionaires and rich people who live in Vaucluse and Bronte, Sky News, on the right, or ABC, who live in Newtown and work there. And I'm like, just this is airing protests honestly, whether it's far right, far left, whatever, shows that, hey, you know, we'll judge you for what you say, not just because of the labels that some academic calls you. And it was also an attempt to try and hold back the far left as well and say, hey, look, guys, take a moment and let's try and talk this out with some dialogue. Maybe you'll find that you are being listened to more than you actually think. And it was a hope to actually honestly hold both sides back a little bit. Dialogue is more what I wanted than anything else, but it's not working out that way. Usual biased narrative towards an agenda, Jon Snow. Yeah, everyone's got a bias. Like, guys, everyone's got a bias. It's just how it goes. There's no... Everyone's got a bias. I've got biases. You just do your best to try and... my job is not to say that I'm this perfect island of unbiased coverage. It is to critically report on whatever is in front of me. I challenged Dana, and I regard her as a friend. I challenged Christian Sakar on the day that I was there with him. A lot of people said that it was a tough interview. I could have gone tougher, but I'm enormously grateful to that guy for also not eating through a feeding tube. That can't be ignored. Oh, you just like him because he saved you from injury. Yep, 100% biased. I mean, that is a brave guy to do that, to cop injuries for someone else, especially for someone who's not part of his community. What more do you want? Yeah, the guy called for violence for people who went into his church, 100%. But he then acted in another way. I was speaking with someone on a weekend at an event that I was covering about how Mark Latham, he was condemning violence inside. Yeah, good job. Very good. Inside. No, stop. Don't do that. Stop. Why didn't Mark come outside and say, guys, stop. Where was Mark? Too busy wondering who the rainbow cameraman was, you useless man. Only way forward to is repent our sins. Well, probably, the other side probably thinks that you're the sinner, so yeah, it's fine. Mate of mine said, never back down, always double down when you know that you're right. Yeah, it's true. Do a damn good job of putting. Oh, thank you. Oh, please, no, stop. Oh, thank you. Need to keep it up. No, yeah, look, I will keep it up, but I'm not going to do field work anymore. I'm not doing field work anymore. I'm staying home. This is, I covered a protest in the city at the town hall the other day. That was spicy enough. That was nice. A little bit of shouting at the end. Just the right amount of spice for me. Legendary Rukshan. Many people like Rukshan. Huge following. God so loved. Yes, I'll leave the Christian comments for you guys. Yeah, Tracy, gonna get worse. By listening with an open mind. Well, there's a very good argument that those who don't have an open mind are those who drive forward the most. If I've learnt anything from covering the left wing of street activism, it's if you stop engaging, if you stop opening yourself up to dialogue, if you stop opening yourself up to criticism, it keeps your faith strong, devout, passionate, unwilling to back down. So look, my point is that the left doesn't engage in debate. You're not going to see left-wing influencers jumping on Sky News in order to try and have a debate with. They don't argue with Avi Yemeni. The debate's over, and the desire people speak of, just if we have this kind of debate and discussion, we might get there. No, I don't know where that's happening. It only happens amongst similar, like-minded individuals. That debate tends to work. I've been doing this for 3 years, and open mind, kind of, not really. Someone's arguing about it. Keep telling the truth. Yeah, look, the truth is a lot easier. When you lie, you have to try and remember all of your lies, and the producer Adam on that one is going to need to remember that lie. And I'll chase him about it every now and then, because I think he got that wrong. Here he is at the heart of the violence. Well, actually, he was holding the violence back. That's a lie. You're showing. It's not incorrect. That was intentional. I think I may have even mentioned that on the phone to Adam, because I think I may have even mentioned to him what a weird story it was, because it was when I found out the guy that was inciting the violence was defending the violence against me. What is this really? It's too complicated to fit into that, and there's just not it. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, are they? Are they? They removed the coloured ribbons of abuse survivors in Sydney as well. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Couldn't imagine Rukshan doing that. Maybe. He's done things before. That said, a year ago when he started covering left-wing protests, he had to learn that left-wing protests won't tolerate you, and they'll use violence to exile you. Yeah. Rukshan incites people. No, I don't like incitement. He was angry that the police weren't letting him in that day. I kind of watched a bit of that, but yeah. Rainbow cameraman. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, love Latham. It's great. I hate lies. They distort our understanding of reality. They pervert us. They rot us away. And you have a special power when you have an audience. And I recognize that. And I've got an audience this big compared to 7:30. And I recognize the responsibility that comes with this microphone and how important that is. Because pushing information out there on a 1,000-fold scale of something that's untrue. Let's think of when a husband and wife are breaking up, the amount of information flying around between, oh, he did this, she did this. Trying to sort fact from truth is so hard. On a 1,000-fold scale amplified, that is with these power of these social platforms. There is a special responsibility. And that's why I will platform what is there. But for me to add my opinion on what happens, I feel that way. I recognize that. And that means that many people come to me and it's like, oh, Chris, what do you think of this thing? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Because a lot of things I don't know. Adam knew what he was saying here. He knew.
Sukkar did not take part in any violence, but here he is at the heart of the Belfield crowd.
Can a good man do bad things? Can a bad man do good things? Everyone wants to rush to judgment about the subject of this video, which is Christian Sukkar. He's an angry man who says he passionately cares for his kids and wants to protect them. At the same time, he called for violence for people who would enter his church. At the same time, he defended me against the same violence that he was inciting. Actions speak louder than words, in my view. He acted. Mark Latham, no, stop, please don't. Inside, oh no, don't do that. Get outside. Get outside, Mark. Get outside and talk to the people. This was meant to be your voter base anyway. This is what you wanted, Western Sydney. Here they are. Talk to them. But he didn't. No, stop, please, don't do it. Oh no, not the rainbow cameraman. Oh, Mark, I'm so brave. But then the next week is talking about dicks and shit. Oh, yeah, great. Very nice. You've got plenty of guts on Twitter, but you don't have it when something's actually going down that you can shift. Imagine the footage there. Mark Latham coming out with arms up. Guys, this isn't us. This isn't us. My name's Mark. Please, don't do this. Don't do it. Call for it. Call for the violence to stop. Something that also shits me about January 6th. If you're a Republican, why are you getting out of the Senate chambers? Why aren't you getting out there and saying, guys, this is not us? If you're a Democrat and you're in Tennessee and you see this is happening, why aren't you going to your mob that's about to charge in the Capitol and saying, guys, this is not us? If you're a protest organizer and you have a protest that's spiraling out of control, it's not enough to pull oh, they're not with us. No, everyone who is within visual distance of your protest is with you. That's how it works. That's how the camera lens works. That's how we're all going to judge you later on. Moira Deeming had to learn that the hard way. Posey Parker had to learn that the hard way. If they're in visual distance of you and they're not clearly on an opposition side, they're part of your group, and they'll be assumed as that. It's up to you to then tell them to go off and get out of your protest, or to condemn them. Something I've always said, if you see someone spiraling out of controlling a protest, don't come up to them and start putting hands on them. Get out there and trying to violently stop them. Just point at them and don't stop. Oh, the message will be pretty clear. Why are you pointing at me? Don't say anything. You're cast out. That'll be pretty noticeable. If you've got someone that you don't want in your group, just point them out and they'll leave. But in Melbourne, it was all just easy to call them Nazis and move on rather than say anything. And Moira didn't, and the rest of the leadership there, it took 3 days before they finally condemned the NSN because they didn't really understand the dynamics of how it worked, or for another reason they didn't. Too late. After 3 days, the story gets written. All right. Enough ranting. Thank you for listening. Look, there we go. 35 minutes. Don't lie. Don't lie. Don't lie. Adam, you don't lie. You've got to cater to your audience. Absolutely. You've got to reflect your producers and your board's views. I get that. Absolutely. Your audience is from a vastly different, the people who are standing around here, the people standing at these kind of crowds, this is not your audience. I get that. This is your audience. I get that. That's why you ended up with the both sides, that this is your audience. That's okay. Don't lie. Don't lie. I won't see you at the next protest because I'm trying not to do too many of them. I'll see you in the next studio.